Good evening, Osceola County, Broward County, any other counties that may be on with us, states, countries, whoever is here with us this evening. We want to welcome you to our last CCLR corner for the year of 2021. Tonight, we're going to be focusing on one of our 4 E's, enlistment, which is military options, and we'll get into the details of that. But we just wanted to take a moment and welcome you all that are on. Now, let's get into some housekeeping items. Firstly, I want you to know that if you scan this QR code, it'll take you to my website where you can find recordings of presentations that we've done since September. So there may be some topics that you're interested in that we've already covered. You are more than free to scan the QR code and let it take you there. There are a couple of places where you can find those recordings. Number one, right on the flyer, if you select the title, it should take you to that recording. And just because we like to give you options, down here at the bottom, we also have it set up by the month of the recording. So if you were to press that arrow, it would open up. You would see the month. You would see the titles that were in for that month. You can select that title and it'll take you to the recordings. Very similar to what's going on with Broward as well. I try to mirror what they do. So even though this would take you to mine, if you're a Broward native, you can go to Broward, browardschools.com/brace. If I got that wrong, my person will let me know. But if you go to the Brace section on Broward's website, it'll take you to the same place as well. So wanted you to know that that is an opportunity for you to go back and watch some of the things that we've already covered. In addition to that, Q&A, that's how we roll. We do live Q&A. We make time at the end to do Q&A. So if you have questions during tonight's session, feel free to type that in the Q&A box. And again, we will have some time towards the end. Oh, there goes the website. See, I knew they would come through browardschools.com/brace. If you, and we'll have Q&A session at the end. We typically try to stay on till 7, but we've come to realize y'all ain't trying to be on here too late, especially as we're about to go on a winter break. So I'll try to get through our presentation as best as possible, and then we'll give, 5, 10, 15 minutes, depending on how active y'all are towards the end of the presentation for Q&A. And last housekeeping item, closed caption is available by clicking the CC logo at the bottom right of your screen. We have closed caption available in Arabic, English, French, Haitian Creole, Portuguese, and Espanol. So if you want to hear tonight's session in your native tongue, feel free to use closed caption. And for those of you that are hearing impaired, same thing, feel free to select that CC logo at the bottom right of your screen, which will allow you to see it in the language that we have provided for you. Now, with that being said, we're going to dive right in. Tonight, again, is about enlistment, military options, and ASVAB. Now, you may be unfamiliar with what the ASVAB is, all the military options. That's why we're here tonight. So, a recap, we have 4 E's that we guide students in as it relates to life after high school, post-secondary education after high school. The first E is enrollment. That's enrollment into a 4-year, 2-year technical college. The second E is what we're going to deal with tonight, enlistment. Those are your military options. The third E is setting up employment upon graduation, employment. And then our fourth E is that intentional gap year, not the I'm graduated, I'm tired of school, so I'm going to sit at home on my mama's couch eating hot Takis. We ain't doing that. That's not an intentional gap year. An intentional gap year places you in some service, whether that's local, whether that's national, whether that's global, where you can further identify and deepen your passions and interests with the hopes of coming back to one of those 3 E's. So we call it intentional gap year expiration. That's our 4E concept. But tonight, as I said, we're going to focus on enlistment, military options, and ASVAB, and we'll get into what the details of what that is this evening. Now, here's our loose agenda. I pretty much have it lined up this way, but I just want you to know everything we're going to cover. So get your pen, get your pad ready if you're old school. Remember, these are recorded sessions, so we'll be able to drop these videos on the website so you can also come back to it. But I just want you to know we're going to be covering all of these items: branches, the different ways to get into the military, what the requirements are, the steps to enlist. What is the ASVAB? You know, we always have these acronyms. Don't nobody know what they mean. So we want to talk about what it means and what it actually is, what boot camp is all about, because there are some misnomers out there about boot camp. Pathways to commissioning. What is commissioning? So we're going to talk about that, and all the information on your recruiters so that you can reach out to them and have some deeper conversations. I am not a military recruiter, so they're going to know more than me, but I know enough to be dangerous. So that's what I'm going to try to be tonight, is dangerous. Now, here are all of the branches, in case you didn't know. You've got your Air Force, you've got your Army, your Coast Guard, your Marine Corps, your Navy, and your Space Force. The Space Force is still being built out, but that is something that is supposed to be solidified. I believe it's this upcoming year. So we should have 6 branches of the military in the year 2022, fully established. The 5 before the Space Force have been around for ages. So those are all the branches. In case you thought there was just the military, no, it's the military, and these are the branches within the military. Now, let's talk about how to get into the military. So I'm going to assume that our audience are high school students coming out of high school, right? You're graduating. So I put that QR code on there, and you're going to see that throughout tonight's presentation, because in order for me to talk about all of the details, we probably would need 2 sessions. I ain't trying to do that. Y'all don't want to sit here that long either. So like I said, I want to give you enough information to get your feet wet, to be dangerous. But these QR codes that I have on the slides will be ones that you will want to scan. Take your photo of them. It'll take you to that direct site on the topic that I'm discussing, so you can get more details. And you can see even here, I gave you the URL code if you want to type that in, but I would encourage you to scan the QR code. So my students that are graduating high school will be graduating high school. Right out of high school, there are 2 ways to get into the military: enlistment or going in as an officer. So when you're enlisting, you're signing a contract right out of high school. And we're going to talk about what the requirements are, but this is typically what people think of when they think of joining the military after high school. You graduate and you're in. Many times students are signing their contracts during their senior year and shipping out as soon as graduation hits. Then there's going in as an officer. An officer goes to college. They earn their 4-year degree at college or the equivalent. And many times they're specializing in law and in medicine, but there's so much more to that. We're going to get into that, but I just want you to know in brief, there are 2 ways. You're either jumping in, you're enlisting right out of high school, or you're going to go to some type of post-secondary education. Traditionally, it's a 4-year college where you're earning that degree so that you can then be commissioned as an officer. Now, here are your general requirements for enlistment. You got to make sure that you're of the age of 17 years of age, right? We're going to talk about the ASVAB, but that is the test that you typically take when you're trying to enter the military. And you must earn your high school diploma. Now, there are certain branches that will take on the GED. So if you're on here tonight and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to quite make it for graduation, that's okay, because we still want to talk about plans and options for you if that is your situation. So there are certain branches, again, that will take on students that have a GED, but you got to earn that GED. So it's either the high school diploma or it's the GED. And then everybody will take some type of physical exam, a medical exam, because they got to make sure that you're fit to serve in the U.S. military. Now, here are our steps to enlistment. I want to encourage you to research all your military branches. Listen, it's the same thing that I talk about when we talk about colleges. You may have an idea of where you want to go, schools that you may want to go to. Maybe it's the same thing with the military, but it's so important to find out if these are your people. And the only way to do that is to do your research, contact those recruiters, get a feel for how they move and work in their field, and see if that resonates with you, because you're going to be there for at least 5 sometimes up to 8 years in your contract, you want to make sure that these are the kind of people that you want to rock with for that amount of time, right? So at the end of tonight's presentation, I'll have all of that information as far as the recruiters and stuff so that you know where you need to go and do your research, do your homework. You want to make sure to explore the career fields in each branch. Now, this is important because when I talk to students about when they say, Cook, my plan is to go to the military, I say, okay, bet. What's your job? And they say, military. And I say, nah, man, that's not how it works. And they say, I'm a shoot guns. And I was like, nah, bro, like you still got to find jobs. Like they have careers in the military, just like in the civilian world, as they would refer to us as, they have those similar careers in the military world. So you want to research those careers. How do you research those careers? That's where the ASVAB comes into play. Again, we're going to talk more in depth about the ASVAB, but the ASVAB kind of shows you where you might be best suited career-wise within the military. So you definitely want to do that. Again, you want to contact your recruiters, right? Find out if these are your people. Other things that you want to consider, well, not consider, you will go to MEPS. MEPS is the Military Entrance Processing Station. At MEPS, they're trying to find out a few things. So you want to make sure that you have these things ready when you go to MEPS. You want to make sure that you have the conversations with your parents about any childhood medical issues that maybe you didn't know about. Probably my favorite story, only because it's one of my former students, and we ride or die for 4 years while he was with me in high school. And I seen him a couple of years ago. He's like, Cook, make sure you tell my story. Make sure you tell my story. So he was bent on going to the military from freshman year on. I like to work with my students. I say, listen, even if you're military bound, let's just, have a backup to your plan here. So I was trying to get him to apply to our state college just in case, right? And he fought me on it, even all the way up to his senior year. So I said, I'm calling your mama. So I called his mama. I told his mom what I was thinking. She said, okay, he'll have everything tomorrow. So he comes in, he was hot. But we got his application done. We got his FAFSA done. We did a couple of scholarships just as a backup, So I remember he graduated, went off. He was in the Navy. It was about 3 weeks later. He's back in my office. And I was like, what are you doing back? You're supposed to be, gone. You signed your contract. He said, craziest story, Cook. I said, talk to me, bruh. He said, so we were out at sea and I got stung by a bee. And I was like, okay. And he was like, found out I'm allergic to bees. And I said, what? He said, yeah. I said, well, what happened? He said, well, you ever seen that movie Hitch? I said, sure enough, one of my favorite movies, love Will Smith. He said, well, I swelled up like Will Smith in Hitch. I was like, what? So what happened? They said they medically discharged him. So knowing your medical history is so important ahead of time because you don't want something crazy to happen and then you find out that you had some medical issues, right? So you want to be forthcoming with that. You want to make sure that you bring your Social Security ID, your birth certificate, and your driver's license. You want to make sure that you come presentable, right? Clean, shaven, dressed in loose clothing because they're going to be doing medical exams. So you want to be in comfortable clothing. There you will take your ASVAB. You will do your physical, and because you're taking your ASVAB, that's where you will pick the career that you're going to do within the military, and then they have you swear in. So that's a really cool moment where you take the creed or whatever branch that you're in, you swear into the military to serve and protect and things of that nature. So that's what MEPS is. And then you'll receive your orders for basic training. So once you get sworn in, you receive your orders, and that's when they send you off to training. You're off, ready to go. So let's talk a little bit more about the ASVAB. The ASVAB is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. That's what the acronym stands for. It's been around for years. There's a ton of research behind it, but basically what it helps students do is identify their strengths and potential careers within the military. This is similar to some of the inventories that you may find if you're in Broward and Navient, and if you're here in Osceola County in Zello. This is another one. I have no problem with students taking this, even though we have inventories in both of those platforms. I think the more inventories that you can take, the more results that you can have, you can find some similarities across different assessments, right? That may say this is the career that you might be best suited for. So every person that tries to enter the military will take the ASVAB. So get yourself ready. You do get a score. The score allows you to be, opens you up to more careers, moves you up in rankings, but there's not like I failed the ASVAB. Depending on what branch you're going into, they are looking for certain scores, and depending on if you're trying to specialize, because every branch does have a specialization, you might need a higher score for that. So just want you to know a little bit about the ASVAB. You can go to military.com if you want some more information on the ASVAB. The other thing I want to talk to you about is boot camp. Now, boot camp, remember I said there are some misnomers out there about that. Check it out. I know I have 7 to 13 weeks up there, but I wanted to make sure that I was accurate. So I checked again before I came on tonight. It ranges from 8 weeks to about 10 weeks. Those shorter weeks or longer weeks, those are for specialized areas, but in general, Coast Guard is about 8 weeks. That's on the short end. To the longer end, Army is about 10 weeks. And when they send you off to basic training, it literally stretches from the East Coast, California, all the way over here. I'm sorry, the West Coast, California, all the way over here to the East Coast. So depending on what happens at MEPS, that's when they send you those, they'll give you those orders. Then they'll put you at whatever camp they feel like you need to be at. So going to today's military.com will break down a bit more where all of those camps are, where all of those schools are. But I just wanted you to know, what the time frame is, basically, right? Like we're looking at 2 to 2.5 months of training that you're going to be away from your family. You are military. You're with your new family now. That's why I said it's important to figure out if these are your people or not. Some of the things that you'll do in basic training, it ranges anywhere between a 1.5 to a 3 mile timed run, timed sit-ups and push-ups. Some of the branches, they just want you to hit a certain benchmark. There is a pull-up count as well, and some of the branches will have you tread water for a certain amount of time. So those are some of the things that take place. And again, each branch is different. So going to that today'smilitary.com will allow you to go a little bit deeper in exactly what the branches are looking for in basic training, or what that may look like for you. Now, one of the things that recruiters will sell you on, and it's true, that the military will help you pay for college. Each branch has programs to help with college tuition. It can be up to 100% cost of tuition or $250 per credit hour. Plus you get $4,500 a year just for personal spending. And it depends on your contract length, how much money you get. So I've seen contracts that I mentioned earlier that start at about 4 years and can go all the way up to 8 years. And a lot of times what happens is your ASVAB score might dictate that, or just the dedication that you want to have. You know, you might want to be in there for a long time. You're a military through and through, and that's what you're going to do, or you're trying to do it because you want to explore the world, you want to get some training, you don't really want to go to college just now. So this gives you that opportunity to learn and grow and get some leadership skills and communication skills and things like that. So it really does depend on your contract length. Now, as far as going to school, because they do pay for you to go to school, my conversations with some people that are in the military, my family is military as well, I've seen this happen 2 ways, one of 2 ways, or both ways. You could be in school when you are based at your camp, and most of those students will take classes online. I have, some of them have told me that they will take some night classes because they're at that base camp for a good bit of time. So while they're there, they'll go to the local college and take some courses, but many of them told me that they do it virtually. Or you finish your contract and you then get that money that will help you go, help you pay for schooling that you want to go to. So it can work either way. You can be working on a degree while you're in the military. Many of them, most of them have told me that is extremely difficult. So they typically will advise, serve out your contract and then jump into schooling, whatever that might look like for you. But it is true, they do pay for schooling. So I want to make sure that you know that. Now, the other way to get into the military is commissioning as an officer. We talked about this a little bit earlier, right? Yes, you go into college earning a 4-year degree or the equivalent of that. You can attend a senior, you can go to a regular college, but typically commissioning as an officer, many of the students will go to a senior military college, such as the Citadel or Norwich University, or they go to a service academy like West Point, the Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy. There's going to be a slide coming up a little bit later that's going to go a little bit more in depth of this, but these are like military schools that you're going to, not a regular college. Or you can go to a regular college. You want to make sure that that college has what we would call an ROTC program, the Reserve Officers Training Corps. If they have that ROTC program, you go to the college, you're part of the ROTC program, you earn that 4-year degree, and then you commission as an officer. And what does commissioning as an officer mean? It means you go in higher ranked, which means higher pay, which means you have more access to higher, more demanding, unique, challenging careers within the military, because you're trained, you've earned a degree, so you're going in up a bit higher than just somebody that's enlisting right out of high school. You will attend an officer candidate school. It's called an OCS after graduating from college. So I think that's several months that you're there, a couple to several months, if I remember correctly, that you'll go to officer candidate school, and then you'll go into your career. So you receive that direct commission after earning a professional degree, which is part of that, right? You advance through the enlisted ranks and then complete your officer training. So that's what I was saying. You go in higher rank because you've taken that time and earned your college degree, and you've gone to officer candidate school. So you're kind of a step above. It's like being in the military, but you really weren't in the military, right? You were still in civilian life, but you're taking an additional 4 years to prep yourself to be in the military. And some of the careers that, you know what, I'm gonna tell you that because there's a slide that has a bunch of that on there. I'll tell you, like, people that commission as an officer, what fields they go into, because there are a ton of fields that they go into. So we'll jump into that in just a little bit. Again, talking about those academies and colleges, right? The ROTC school colleges that have that ROTC program, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But basically, if you're a part of that, they will pay for school, but it is 5 years of service that's required if you're going to do this. So upon graduation, right, 4 years of graduation, your contract will be 5 years minimum of service. So prep time, 5 years of service, so 9 years you're dedicating to the military in some capacity, but 5 years is your legit contract term. The service academy covers tuition, books, board, medical. So when you get into those service academies, again, we'll talk about a little bit later, those specific schools. When you're in there, they're paying for your school. So you're going to school for free. They're training you to be one of the leaders in the military. And again, the QR codes on the screen, you can scan it and you'll get more of those details before you even having to wait till a slide comes up. But you basically have to graduate high school. They're looking at your SAT and ACT scores. So that becomes important. It's not just about graduating high school. They're looking at your standardized test scores. So you want to make sure that you're scheduled to take those, or that you already have taken them if you're a senior and you're on tonight. They're looking at your athletics and extracurricular activities. And they're not just looking for you to be average in athletics. They are looking for the elite in athletics, whatever sport that is that you play, and that you are giving to your community, whether that's directly in the school through a club or organization, or you're working or volunteering your time outside of school. But they are looking to see that you are rounding yourself out, right? That you are invested in your academics and that you're disciplined in that area, but you're also giving to your community. So those things become important. And you can see the next point is that leadership. So they want to see you flexing that muscle in whatever it is that you're doing, because they're about to train you to be a leader in their military. They want to see if you are already being a leader at your school, in your community. So those things become super important. And the last thing is that congressional letter of recommendation. There's only one branch that doesn't require it. It's the Coast Guard, but you'll need a congressional letter. I know here in the school district of Osceola County, we have a couple of people that we connect our students with. So depending on what county you're in that are on tonight, you want to reach out to your counselor and find out maybe who those key people are so that you can get that letter that you might need to jump in to the academy, because that letter doesn't come easy, but we do have people that will help write those letters for you. Now, there is the opportunity to directly commission, and they're looking for specific skill sets. So they're looking for students that are in the medical field, they're in the law field, they're in religious studies, engineering, intelligence, and some of the other things that I don't have on there for you, but I know that they're looking for oceanography, they're looking for science, pharmacy, dentistry, nurse corps, that kind of falls under medicine, supply and logistics, transportation, right? Because you're moving vehicles across the world. So they want people that are specializing in those areas, public affairs and engineering. So if you are going to go to an academy or college and you want to directly commission upon graduation, be thinking about, is there a career within those fields that you're passionate about? Because those are the fields that they're really looking for commissioning officers. So keep that in mind. Again, after you graduate, you go off to indoctrination school. That's the OCS. There is an age requirement is waived because typically older folks will go into that, more seasoned folks will go into that. So and you want to make sure to speak with your recruiter. Again, I'll have that screen up for you at the end of tonight's presentation so that you know exactly who to contact, where to go. Now, there are over we talked about ROTC, the reserves at the schools. There are over 1,700 colleges that have an ROTC program at their schools. So remember, there's enlistment and commissioning as an officer. So if you're going to commission as an officer, you're going to college, you're earning that 4-year degree, and you got to be a part of their ROTC program. So you want to make sure, and I got it right there for you, the QR code is on the screen. You want to make sure that you attend the school that has that ROTC program. Again, they pay for college in exchange for the service you're about to give them upon graduation. Remember, we talked about 5 years of service afterwards. So you want to make sure you attend the school that has the ROTC program. School is going to be covered for you, but you got to give up a few years after graduation to get there. And make sure you scan the QR code so that you can figure out if that school actually has an ROTC program. That will inform the decision you need to make whether or not you're going to attend that school or not. And the 3 branches that really hone in on this are Army, Navy, and Marine Corps, really it's 4, and the Air Force. So the Marine Corps is actually the largest source for Navy officers. Navy and the Marine Corps ROTC really flood students into the Navy as officers. So just some, little nuggets there for you. Now, officer candidate school. This is different from commissioning, the officer candidate school, because you can go, you don't have to go to officer candidate school. You can go into the military right out of graduating high school. But if you want to go into officer candidate school, this is something that you'll enroll in after your 4-year degree is obtained. It lasts 9 to 17 weeks. It's intense training. They're looking for 4-year college grads. They're looking for enlisted members, and they're looking for direct commission officers to be a part of this special program. The QR code is on the screen. You can scan this, gives you a ton of information on this. But the courses, the training that you'll go through focuses on military subjects, physical training, leadership skills. They end up becoming the creme de la creme in the military, the leaders in the platoons. So if this is something that you're interested in, this is a bit different than direct commission. So this is another added layer. Remember, I told you there's so much in the military. It's like to get down and dirty with it, we'd have to do this over a span of 2 days. But I'm trying to be dangerous, and I want you to be dangerous. So the QR code is there for you if you're interested and want to know more about that. Now, there are ways to get into the military but they're not scholarship programs. Like we talked about, if you're going to a college, right, and it has the ROTC program, they're going to cover your costs. Or you're going straight out of high school and enlisting, and you're doing your contract time, and then they'll cover the costs of school. There are some ways to get into this, but it's not scholarships. So I do want you to know all the ways, but this is different than everything else that we talked about. There is the Green to Gold Army. Again, the QR code is there for you. You can scan it to know more details about it. But these are for soldiers who have completed 2 years of college. There's a monthly stipend. Typically, your junior and senior courses become paid for. There's a GI Bill and then medical benefits that you receive, but you must be a U.S. citizen, 2 years minimum, less than 10 years of active service, under 30. And there's some additional requirements, but those are really the key ones there for you. In addition to the Army Green to Gold, the Air Force has one. QR code is there for you, give you some details. That's called the General Military Courses. It's basically ROTC courses offered to freshmen and sophomores. Additional courses and training are required if this is something that you're trying to do. But this is if your goal is to become an officer, this is another way that you can do it. So you want to make sure to check out those QR codes to get more details on it. Because like I said, there are different ways: enlisting, commissioning directly as an officer, going to officer candidate school. All of those cover your education. And then you have your Green to Gold, which is Army. That doesn't necessarily cover your education. It covers part of it, but not all of it. And then your Air Force General Military Courses. Now, I did say I would show you all of the information on recruiters. So if you got your phones out, may I advise you here on this screen, take a picture. I'm going to leave it up for a moment for you. These are all the contacts of all of the branches, all 6 that we talked about earlier on. Air Force, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard. So you see, we didn't talk about this, but there is active duty and reserves. So active duty is full commitment. Your life is all military. Reserves, you go to training. You give up I think it's a couple of weekends of the month where you go to training to make sure that you're still fit and ready to go in case of emergency, that you still know the protocols and procedures that are required when you're addressing some type of crises that they might have to call out the reserves. This is the backup, right? So the active duty. So they still want to make sure that you're training and stuff. So you can see that for all but the Space Force, there is the active portion of it, and then there is the reserves. Give me 1 minute. So if you have a camera, I hope you took a picture. Now we're getting to our end. Yes. So we're at the end. This is our Q&A time, 6:33. I normally will finish around 6:40, 6:45. But hey, I'm going to give you some time back. But before we do that, I ask that you scan the QR code for the survey. This is about 10 questions. This helps us figure out how to make this better for you. So help me help you. Scan the QR code, answer those handful of questions, and that will help us, expand the topics that we're covering and just overall make the presentations better. We want to make it worth your while. We don't want you coming on and wasting your time and such. So that really informs us there. In addition to that, up in the upper right-hand corner, you can scan that QR code. That's very similar to the third slide that I shared. It'll take you to the website. On that website, now browardschools.com/braces in here. Our websites are very similar. I literally copied it from Broward just because theirs is awesome. Colors might look a little bit different. Setup might be a little bit different, but the topics are there. So you'll find yourself jumping on there and seeing all of those CCLR topics are there. Virtual fairs that we've been doing that are coming up. If you have any questions while I'm going through this, you can type them now in the Q&A. you'll find information on all the military branches that we just talked about. We have our information on our expiration organizations that we have been partnering with. We actually have a few here in Osceola County that already have that set up. My first year that I've seen that. We have information on scholarships. We have information on our college and career platforms. For Broward, it's Navient. For Osceola, it's Zello. We have scholarship information on there. So anything that you can think about in transitioning from high school to post-secondary education, we have all that there on the website. We have FAFSA live sessions and information on that are there. So I encourage you to scan that QR code up in the upper right-hand corner. And then lastly, all of my social media feeds are there on the screen for you, but the party really happens on Instagram. Part of the reason that I'm in a Santa hat tonight, I'm AKA the Caramel Santa. I've been going out since last Monday, giving out prizes to students that have shown evidence of an acceptance to one of those 4 E's and or a completed FAFSA. We've done $50 Amazon gift cards, $100 Amazon gift cards. Today, I opened up the bag and distributed a laptop, and I got 2 more days to go. But we have contests on there. We keep you in the know. I do Monday check-ins with you so that you know what's going on that week. We do Spotlight Fridays where we highlight scholarships that are coming up within the next couple of weeks, as well as student success stories, whether they're serving in the community, athletic success, academic success. We're just trying to spotlight all the different routes that students and activities that they're involved in that may potentially carry them into one of those 4 E's. So if you're not following me on social media, I would encourage you to do so, specifically Instagram, and you can DM me at any time you want. I was just talking to a student. We're setting up some time over the break. I'm going to help him and his family with the FAFSA. We're going to do it through DM. So, hey, we're here for you to help support you. So with that being said, Q&A time. If you got questions, now's the time to ask them. And I'm going to allow some wait time just because I finished earlier than I thought I was going to finish. I'm scared I was going to just yabber away because I have a tendency to do that, but I didn't tonight. So what do we say? I give you till 6:40, so about 3 minutes. I mean, and if you are active, we'll keep it going. But now's the time to ask. And it doesn't have to be military related. It can be college and career related. We're here to answer all of those questions. That's why we're on. So if you got something that's college and career life readiness related, you can ask here. Side note, if you are following me on Instagram, you can go to the scholarship highlight in my profile. There are scholarships that are due these next 2 days, ranging from 1,000 to 20,000. And this Friday, I'll be dropping a bunch more that are due December 31st and like that January 1st to 4th. So you'll want to, if you're not following, follow so that way you can get you that money. So for those of you that are wondering if there's a recording, remember up there in the upper right of your screen, that's the website. That's my website, Osceola County's website. On there, that's where we drop all of our recordings. So you can pull it from there. You can access it at any time, but typically a few hours after the presentation, it's uploaded into the website. So that way you can always have access to it. So that QR code up there will be important for you. I would advise you, I would encourage you to scan it and then bookmark that page. Like I said, not just tonight, it's literally all the ones that we've done since September. Oh, really great question. I see Curly's answering it. There was a question of how do you join the JROTC program? And any contacts on the Coast Guard, let me do you a solid here. I don't like that it's doing that. There we go. Oh, I left out Coast Guard, huh? I got you. Great question. Let me get you your Coast Guard information. Unless the Coast Guard is the one branch that's like really weird. It's like they come get you, you don't go get them. Ah, I got you. Nope, I don't got you. I thought I got you. But I actually have one of my counselors here. Serve for the Coast Guard. So I can try to get you a contact from there. If you will, would you share your email? It's private, so if you'll share your email, I'll take it down and I'll send it to you tomorrow. For Nancy. Shoot that email in the Q&A and I'll capture it. I'm almost positive for us, in our experience, the Coast Guard and the Air Force are some of the hardest ones to get in contact with. They look at ASVAB scores and they're really assessing high ASVAB scores. Once they have those ASVAB scores and they're really high, then they're going after those students. Not after, but they're trying to recruit those students. I think that's why I don't have their contact up there. Oh, great question. If my son is in the middle of his process to become a resident, he can be enlisted, or is it better to wait until he is done? He's in the 11th grade. Yeah, you want to wait till he's done. I'm almost positive you have to be a US citizen. Really great question. And what's really important too, like I said, I'm not the expert. I'm just learned enough to be dangerous. I want to make sure that I gave y'all enough to get your feet wet. Whatever brand, this is, I treat my college bound students this way too. The same kind of relationship that we have when we're in the high schools with them, I start to encourage them to have that same relationship with whatever college they're going to or whatever branch that they might be going into. Because once you get the names, and they get your son or daughter's name, then they latch on to them and they can be that first point of contact, all things military related. So if there's a specific branch that maybe you're interested in, again, I want to encourage you to take a shot of this screen. I want you to reach out to them because every area, even here in Osceola County, we have different regions. There's different recruiters at my high schools. There's like 2 or 3 that have the same recruiter, but then it's different at the other 2 or 3 and so forth and so on. So it becomes really important that you reach out to the actual recruiting office and then get you in touch with somebody that's in that area. And then they can be your content expert on all things military. Okay, I got you, Nancy. got you. I'll reach out to my Coast Guard counselor and see if I'll confirm whether or not it's what I think it is, where if they have a certain cut score on the ASVAB, then they'll reach out to the student, or if there's somebody that you can call for sure. Thank you so much for sharing. Really great questions, y'all, at the end here. Thank you so much. Ooh, great question. So if I were to join a college for 4 years while in the NJROTC, so tell me if I'm hearing you right. You're going to college, a college that has the NJROTC program. You're part of the NJROTC program. Do you have to go to the academic school? Yeah, no. Yes, you do. You do, because the reason that you're doing that is you're commissioning as an officer. And here's the thing, even if you don't, right? Like if you try to enlist, they're not going to go for that. Because you have the training, you have the skill set needed to be an officer. And here's the other thing, you wouldn't want to enlist anyways, because that puts you down here on rankings. When you get commissioned as an officer, you're up here on rankings. Remember what I said, that's more money in your pocket, and that opens up your job and career opportunities. So yes, if you're going to college that has the NJROTC program and you're a part of both of them, right? Attending college NJROTC program, you have the choice to either commission as an officer or to go to, what was the one slide? It's similar to commissioning as an officer. You would go to, where's my puppy at over here? Officer candidate school. So you either direct commission or officer candidate school. That becomes your options. Great question. Okay, that. So I was understanding you correctly. Got you. Yep. Yeah, because you're getting college training and developing that skill set, and you're getting 4 years of military training, and you're developing, right? You're going through the developmental stages. Those 4 years are really important for your developmental stages. So now you're coming in, not just fresh out of green, right? Out of high school, you got some years under your belt. You're a bit more seasoned as a young adult. So they're gonna want you to commission as an officer. That's typically the route that people are taking when they're doing that right there. Or you go to candidate school, like I just said, one of the two. So while you're great question. I just learned this, so I'm glad that you're asking this, because I have one of my colleagues' daughter is doing this right now, so I got to learn this firsthand. Because most of my students enlisted. I didn't have a lot try to go to college in the NJROTC program. So when you're in the ROTC program at the college, there's a point of contact that's there from the military branch that you're dealing with. So they begin to help you make that transition. Every college has one. So when you are, the young lady that's in there right now, this is her first year. She's already met with them. They've already set up the timeline, the plan, where she's going to be commissioned to, what degree she's going to be working on. So they're kind of, you have your academic advisors towards college, but you also, now you have your military academic advisor that helps you set up what it should look like while you're in college to prep you to get ready to make that transition. So that'll be your point of contact when you're in the college. Okay, I see these questions coming in. Woo! Oh, so look, I'm going to keep it real with you because this hurt me. The question was, is there an advantage for going to JROTC in high school? I'm going to say yes and no. Typically when people ask me this question, most of the time they're asking as an advancement into the military. There's nothing. You don't get jumped up in ranks. It doesn't give you, technically doesn't give you a foot ahead if you were to go to college. Yes, it does give you discipline. It gives you the opportunity to be in the military world and learn the skill sets that you need to be successful, kind of get you prepped and ready, but there's no, like, there's not a benefit as far as rankings and or going to college. It's just more you committed to that in high school. You competed and did all of that while you were in high school to get you ready for potentially jumping into the military or going to college and then commissioning as an officer. I thought that it would jump you up in the ranks if you did. I think it used to be this way. If you did 3 years of ROTC, then when you enlisted right out of high school, then your rank was higher. Because my cousin did it. So I know it used to be this way, but the young lady that I'm working with right now, she's at UCF actually. We thought the same thing, and when she talked to the recruiter at UCF, nothing. And I have a counselor here that's like our military expert. She reached out to every branch, and they said the same thing. There's no like advantage, benefit. I shouldn't say advantage, benefit, and not even benefit. There's a word that I want to say. You don't get moved up in ranks. You don't get more money, nothing like that. You are up for the NJROTC scholarship. And of course, you've been in the world of the military, having been a part of the junior ROTC program. So that preps you for what's about to come. So that's the benefit, right? That's the advantage, as opposed to somebody that wasn't doing anything and was like, you know what, I'm going to do the military. So you're kind of a leg up in that route, but not in the other ways that I previously mentioned. Yeah, I know. I was disappointed. I swore you got higher rank, which means you got higher pay, but nah, nope. But you can flex those leadership skills and being competing and stuff. You can flex those things. That may help as far as you pursuing your career and such in the military. Great questions. I didn't think y'all was going to come hard like that. We're extended it beyond what I thought. So how about I give you another, let's say 2 minutes. If you got questions, I can field them. If not, then we'll sign off. Those of you that started following on Instagram, if you go to my profile page, you can see the highlights that I have there for you, our Monday check-ins, our Spotlight Fridays. I just now started to build out. I used to house our scholarships and our Spotlight Fridays, but I thought it would be better for y'all just to have a scholarship highlight. I think over the break, I'm going to start dividing it into by month. Right, so that way you can just go in there and say, oh, there goes January scholarships. Let me take a look at those. There goes February. So I'm going to work on that over the break, but you can go see what we're doing. Yes, I would contact the recruiter now ahead of May graduation. Even now with my college students, I have them, that's me passing them on now. I'm transitioning them over to who's going to be their recruiter. As much as I love my students and as much as I would love to help them every step of the way in life, I'm not the expert on the college side or the military side. So I tend to, I get them up to the doorstep, knock on the door, and then the person that opens that door, they're ready for them to move on to that next step. So you definitely want to reach out to the recruiter, start making that contact and that connection. So that way nothing is missed. And when that graduation hits in May, whatever that plan is for you, whether it's going to college and then commissioning or in straight up enlisting, you know what you want to do, you know what the process is, you sign your contract, you do all that stuff that we just talked about. So yeah. So whichever branch is up there that's for you, please make sure to take that down. Great question. Okay, we got another minute left. All right, that's that minute mark. I can see the numbers starting to dwindle down. I want to thank y'all so much for taking the time to join us this evening. I hope this was beneficial for you. I'll check the surveys and see if it actually was or not. As always, you can reach out to me through Instagram. On the website, my contact information is there as well. DM me if you have questions. I'm here for y'all. Thank y'all so much for being on tonight. Whatever it is that you celebrate, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Christmas, holidays, whatever it is, I wish you a merry, a happy, and I really hope you enjoy your break. Hope you can reconnect, re-energize, and be ready for what's coming up here in the new year. Year flew by quick. It's going to go even quicker second half. So I hope you really take some time over these next couple of weeks and embrace those that you love and that are around you, because time is short. So enjoy your break. Again, thank y'all so much for being on. We'll see y'all in a couple of weeks. We're going to hit the ground running first week of January with our first CCLR corner, soft skills. So see you then. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.